All right, so time to head to the office. Switch for the drivers means strapping on a helmet and climbing into a 130-degree race car cockpit. The engines fire in Music City. Next. Nascar Series ready to go racing in Music City on a warm late afternoon. Temperature topped out just above 90 degrees today. 87 right now. Expected to be about 77 at checkered flag time as always this time of year. We'll keep an eye on the radar for any showers that may pop up, but it looks pretty darn good in Nashville right now. Well, it took a little while, but DJ has made his way upstairs to join Andy Petrie and Vince Welch in the booth. Glad you could make it, DJ, and he was kind of standing outside the booth here for a little while waiting for a ride. We haven't talked much about this tricky racetrack yet and some of the strategies we might see tonight, so why don't we start there, Vince?
Well, 6 different winners in the last 6 races here at Nashville, but you got to get to the end first, and that's where a lot of the strategy starts playing out at the end. The last 2 races here at Nashville have been pretty long green flag runs to the checkered flag, never a green-white checkered finish here. How does that affect the strategy if you're a team trying to figure out how to win this thing?
Well, you always look at the history at any racetrack you go to see how it all plays out. But this season, we've seen a lot of late race caution flags that have really impacted the finish and the strategy that these crew chiefs are using. So I'm betting there's going to be one. I think we're going to have the first green-white checker in Nashville, and I'm going to count on that tonight because it's just the trend we've seen this year.
We've talked a lot about the opportunities, and there are a lot of different opportunities, different types of opportunities for different drivers in this race. But we still got to talk about the 2 that are the best on the concrete, Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski, and they're in this field.
Yeah, exactly right. We talked about what a great opportunity for some of these guys in new rides and some of the nationwide regulars. But what we failed to point out a little bit is that the 2 best on concrete over the last 3 years have been Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards. Brad Keselowski came here yesterday. This is how much it means to him. He came here from Pocono, make sure that he got time in that car to get it set up the way that he wanted to. Carl didn't make that effort. He's only had 2 laps in his race car, so we'll see exactly what happens. But if you're going to make a statement here tonight, you're going to have to beat these 2 guys.
Well, if it's not Brad Keselowski or Carl Edwards, then who's it going to be?
There's a guy here that ran second in the first race. Reed Sorensen finished second to Kevin Harvick. I think that I know that he's got the same car. I think that he might get the job done here tonight. Kevin Harvick's not in that 33.
Yeah, but that 33 car is here, and Mike Bliss is driving that car, and he is very capable of winning, and this might be a breakout race for Mike Bliss.
And we haven't even talked about the guy that's on the pole for this race, and that's Justin Allgaier, happens to be Brad Keselowski's teammate. Allgaier was 4th here in April, and he is really happy with his car, thinks that he might get that win here tonight at Nashville. So we're getting ready to go, and we'll go downstairs, getting ready for the command to start engines.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports from Billy Scott of Martin Scott Sale. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Fire it up. All right, pal, you crank it up. Fire them up. Carl, you want those cars that are before us and after us? Do you have that? About it. Yeah, 10-4. Double check me. About it, Chris. Okay, before, it's good. 10-4, Chad, I got you. All right, running. Gauges look good. Wonderful.
One of the bright stories this weekend here in Nashville has been the performance of Scott Wimmer driving for Nashville-based Baker Curb. He's a former winner here. In fact, the last of his 6 Nationwide Series victories came right here, March of 2008. He passed Clint Boyer with 21 laps to go and went on to score the victory. Scott Wimmer hopes to repeat here tonight in Nashville. Earlier today, Justin Allgaier was the star. He's the pole winner, his 2nd NASCAR Nationwide Series pole. His first pole came at Memphis in October of 2009. It's his 3rd front row start of his Nationwide Series career. You may note the last 4 Nashville races have been won from the front row. Justin Allgaier starts from the front row tonight from the point. You see the ticker in the starting lineup going across the top of your screen, and also the 2 drivers who failed to qualify, Kevin LePage and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And there are also 4 drivers that are moving to the rear of the field. You'll see those on the screen as well. But now let's dial in our in-race reporter, and that's Scott Wimmer. DJ?
Hey, Scott, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, I got you, DJ.
Hey, Scott, our first question comes from our ESPN mailbag, and Tanya in Gilbert, Arizona asks, are there any special procedures you go through when taking over a new car?
There's definitely a lot of different things you do. You know, the first off is just learning a new crew chief. And, you know, I've been fairly fortunate. I've worked with Ricky in the past, not actually driving for him, but with other teams. And they make it real easy, but it's a little different. You got to learn new names and ultimately come up with the best game plan for a race.
Well, speaking of that game plan for the race, we saw you guys making a lot of changes on your car yesterday. Are you pretty confident that you got it where you need it to try to win this race tonight?
Feel real good. I feel good being here in Nashville in a Baker Curve car. You know, this team's going through a lot of tough times. We might be forced to shut down after the race next week. So I think we got a real good race car for tonight. You know, I feel like it's one of the better cars that I've raced here before, so hopefully we can take victory lane.
All right, buddy. We know you can get the job done. Have a great night. Thanks for talking with us. Now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Ricky Vires.
Hey, Rick Vires, Andy Petrie, you got us?
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Rick, thanks for letting us hang out in practice down there with you guys, and we saw how hard you guys are working on this car trying to get a win and how much you need it. How much are you willing to gamble tonight to get that?
You know me pretty well. I'm willing to gamble whatever it takes tonight, so it ought to be pretty exciting. There's been a lot of races here lately with the green-white checkers, 2 tires and no tires, so we're liable to see anything tonight.
Well, Rick, do you think that the tire will allow you to do that tonight? Is it going to hold up well enough to do 2 tires?
There's an opportunity for it. It depends on how many cars on the lead lap and how close we are to the end.
Okay, well, good luck, Rick. Thanks for letting us talk to you tonight.
Thanks, Andy.
Scott Wimmer will be keeping one of those onboard cameras, giving us some insight from his perspective tonight. There will be 8 onboard cameras, including the pole sitter Justin Allgaier, Michael Annett, Brad Keselowski, Scott Lagasse Jr., Carl Edwards, Stephen Wallace, Trevor Bayne, all carrying onboard cameras tonight. Also, another camera over the wall, the crew cam. That's John Reese. He's the jack man on the 27 of Scott Wimmer. So I'm going to have a good perspective from John Reese as he works the jack tonight. Now let's check in on some of the top stories from pit road. We'll begin with Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thank you, Vince. And after finishing 32nd or worse in 2 of the last 3 events, Brendan Gaughan said, I need some help. And this week, car owner Rusty Wallace said, I'm going to give you some. He took the whole team to Pikes Peak Raceway to dial in, and Rusty got in the car himself, and the legendary driver, car owner, found him a setup which allowed that team to qualify 14th here tonight. They believe, because of that setup from their owner, that they will finish no worse than 10th, if not better, here tonight. Jamie.
Well, 19-year-old Trevor Bayne is celebrating his 1-year anniversary in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Now, this team has a lot of expectations for tonight. In both practice sessions yesterday, he was top 3. Today, he qualified 3rd. But speed hasn't been the problem with this team. The problem has been finishing races. Jerry Baxter, his crew chief, told him just before he got in the race car, tonight you have to drive this car at 85% and finish every lap. Shannon?
Well, Scott Lagasse Jr. really surprised everybody in happy hour practice on Friday when he moved to the top of the speed charts while in race trim. According to Scott, this team unloaded with a very different setup here this weekend, and so far it has worked. He was fast in practice, fast in qualifying as he starts 5th tonight. Now, this 43 Baker Curve team definitely a family affair, as Scott's father is his crew chief. The team's headquarters located about 20 miles from this racetrack, so they have put a lot of effort into tonight's race. Vince?
Take a look at our race analysis. It is 300 miles on this 1.33 mile track. That's 225 laps. There you see our pit windows, 65 to 70 laps. The corners banked 14 degrees. Pit road speed 45 miles per hour, and we are just about ready. The pace car is off. It's what we've been waiting for. The green flag preparing to be displayed. The drivers too wide. The flag waves, and we are racing at Nashville. Allgaier got the early jump. Trevor Bayne slipped in 2nd. Brad Coleman 3rd.
Paul Menard trying to work that high side.
Good luck.
Yeah, you know, we saw more passing on the outside.